Welcome to the 2025 Voters Guide presented by the San Antonio Report and KLRN.
We want to make sure you have all the information you need before you head to the polls for this important May 3rd municipal election. I'm Andrea Drusch from the San Antonio Report.
And I'm Randy Beamer. In this election, we will see a new mayor of San Antonio elected, and every city council seat, all 10, are also up for grabs. And as for election turnout, this year could be challenging because May 3rd happens to be the last weekend of Fiesta. A lot of people might be thinking about partying and not politics.
Yeah, and among the many distractions, there are also many candidates. We've got 27 candidates running for mayor this year and 59 candidates running for these 10 city council seats.
And why is that?
This is a little unlike other Texas cities. San Antonio has had the same $100 filing fee since 1954. They've considered raising it in the past, but people didn't want to. But there is a petition route if they didn't do that. No one used that this year. Every single person paid the $100 filing fee, but this is why we have a long list of candidates where up the road in Austin, you saw somebody made it out without even a runoff this year.
Some cities also have signature requirements where you have to get thousands of signatures. We don't have that here either.
There's a signature route if you want to get out of paying the fee, but other cities do use that as a bar to indicate the seriousness of your campaign. Are you going to campaign seriously enough to go out and get these signatures to get on the ballot? That's the first there are
a lot more money or a lot more signatures as well.
We're on the low end of the spectrum by far.
Well, hopefully people are going to take advantage of early voting, and that starts April 22nd and runs through April 29th.
You can go to any polling location. There's 46 of them this year. You can find all of this information on our voter guide at the sanantonio-report.org, and you can also find more information about voting at Bexar County Elections website, bear.org.
Again, there are 10 city council districts in San Antonio. Definitely no shortage of candidates for many of those districts in the May 3rd election. Want to take a look now at each district's candidates, starting with District 1. And this, by the way, is the order. You'll see those names on the ballot. There is an incumbent in this district, sitting council representative Secor. District 1, by the way, covers downtown, north and south, also runs north and northwest, then past Loop 410. And Andrea, again, this is the first time in years that we're going to have 4-year terms for the city council candidates as well as for the mayor.
Yeah, you remember that in November, voters approved new, longer council terms, moved it from 2 years to 4 years, so that people would have a longer runway for their ideas before they had to start gearing up for a re-election campaign. But that means the team of 1 mayor and 10 council candidates that we elect this year that's the team that we have in San Antonio until 2029. So this is a big, important election because of that.
And it's also going to mean that we were probably going to have runoffs in many of those races with so many candidates.
If a candidate doesn't take 50% of the vote on May 3rd, then the top 2 finishers will advance to a runoff on June 7th. So you can see in a lot of these races, crowded races are likely to go on to a runoff.
District 1?
District 1, this is the most crowded race on the council races. As you'll recall, Council District 1 was an upset victory for Councilwoman Kaur in 2023. She unseated an incumbent in a runoff. She faces 9 challengers. It's an enormous district that encompasses most of downtown and stretches all the way north. You've got candidates from all over there with very specific interests within that district. You've got candidates from the north side who don't feel like they are represented by a downtown councilwoman. You've got candidates downtown that want things that are very different from what the north side of the district wants. But this will be one of the most interesting ones. It's off to an exciting start already.
And likely to be a runoff. Now in District 2, another incumbent's on the ballot, Jalen McKee-Rodriguez, who has served on the council for 4 years. District 2 covers the east side from downtown due east then to Foster Road and northeast past Fort Sam Houston up to Loop 410.
Councilman McKee-Rodriguez was a council aide who won that seat in 2021. He had a crowded race last time but made it out of there without a runoff. It's a crowded race again this time. But that race is definitely on our radar too.
And District 3 candidates also included incumbent Phyllis Villagran. Now this is a smaller group of candidates than many other districts. District 3 covers the southeast side of San Antonio from Rigsby past Loop 410. It stretches into Loop 1604 in some areas.
The Villagrans have had a lock on this district for a long time. Her sister represented this district for 8 years. She's running now for her 3rd term. She's got a handful of challengers this time, but made it out without a runoff last time.
Now, District 4 is an open race. This is one with no incumbent. It's also one of 2 districts with no female candidates this year. District 4 covers the southwest side that runs from Highway 90 near Lackland and Port San Antonio, out past Loop 410 and ends near Loop 1604.
Yeah, so that's why these council races are so interesting this year, in part because we're going to have such a different crew of faces because 4 of these seats have no incumbent on the ballot. Councilwoman Adriana Rocha Garcia, who's represented District 4 for the last 6 years, had some eligibility left but jumped over to the mayor's race, as did Councilwoman Melissa Cabello-Havada in District 6. You had 2 other council members who were termed out, Manny Pelaez and John Courage, and they're running for mayor. So this has opened up all of these crowded races for these non-incumbent seats, and that person will get to hold this seat for 4 years.
And so we're going to have a whole different look of the council, and that's going to last longer than we've had with the changes over 2-year terms.
Right, so choose wisely in this election. District 4 has 5 contenders running in that race. One of them is a former staffer to Councilwoman Adriana Rocha Garcia, the incumbent, and she's endorsed that candidate. There's also a few candidates who you might recognize from other races if you've been watching San Antonio politics, but certainly one to watch this year.
And a lot of names that you won't recognize just because there are so many.
Right.
Now, District 5, that has the smallest list of candidates, as well as District 7. Now, this is only 3, including the incumbent, Terry Castillo. District 5 covers the near west side from downtown out to Acme Road and from Culebra on the north end to South Cross on the south end.
Yeah, this is one of a handful of incumbents seeking re-election this year, Terry Castillo, who didn't draw a ton of challengers. This near west side district, she was a housing organizer who was chosen 4 years ago for this, so she's headed for a third and final term this year.
Do you think the incumbents do have the advantage we always think they do in these races with lesser known names?
Your first re-election race is the hardest, and so I think these guys who've been around for a few years definitely have an advantage.
And District 6 is another open race. Now here we have 8 candidates. District 6 covers the far west side. That's from Old Highway 90 West all the way out to 1604, including Military Drive, Grissom, and then part of Tesla Road as well.
This is the district where Councilwoman Melissa Cabello-Havada just jumped into the mayor's race in December. She was sort of keeping her options open for a long time, and that there was a field of candidates that was interested in this race maybe midway through last year, but she hadn't announced yet. And now that the field is set, it's an entirely different group of candidates almost than the ones who had first flagged interest, but it's a big field, and it includes a former councilman who's trying to make a comeback, Bobby Herrera from the 90s. It includes lots of people who have experience working at City Hall. There's a young City Hall staffer from District 5 who's running here. There's a woman who's been a district director, Vanessa Chavez, in this district. There's a lot of candidates with a lot of interesting experience and backgrounds running for this.
And because there are so many different candidates in moving or in and out of the race, it's also going to be a little tougher, you would think, for them to get backing, or for the people who are backing them to stay with them.
It's certainly tough to raise money when there's this many candidates. As the council members running for mayor quickly found out, there's the same group of people that donates to all of these people, and if you're all running, it's tough. It's tough to raise the money to run a real campaign that would do enough to get your name out there to voters.
Especially with 8 candidates in a district.
So a lot of these we will really be focusing on them when the runoff happens.
And that will probably happen in that race. Now in District 7, just 2 challengers to incumbent Marina Alvarete Gavito. District 7 stretches from just west of downtown up through the northwest side out to Loop 1604.
She picked up this seat last year as a first term. This is her first re-election race. Won it in a runoff last year with backing from the business community. Just 2 challengers this year. As far as the incumbents go, that's really unusual.
And her name, Alvarete, has a history in San Antonio, Joe Alvarete. So, again, the advantage of the incumbent.
But as an added twist, she drew a challenger who has her same last name this year. Cynthia Lugo Alderete.
And so there's going to be a little confusion in that.
Perhaps.
A field of 6 candidates are vying for that open seat out in District 8. That includes one with an endorsement from Mayor Ron Nirenberg, and that is Ibelis Mesa Gonzalez. District 8 covers the far northwest side from just south of Wurzbach out I-10 to the Dominion.
Yeah, remember that this is the council district that Nirenberg represented on the council, more recently represented by Manny Pelaez, who's running for mayor this year. It is way up there. It's kind of in its own world. But this is the big leagues. This race has drawn a lot of money already. Candidates who are running really professional organizations, have professional campaign teams in place, and who have been running for a long time. At one point, there was talk of Pelaez's mom running for this seat, and that didn't wind up happening. But the mayor's former chief of staff, Ibelis, is in this race.
And some higher profile people than maybe in the other races.
Yeah, there's an attorney, Paula McGee, who rolled out a huge list of endorsements. There's a realtor, Saqib Sheikh, who's also raised a lot of money in this race. This is certainly going to be one of the most hard-fought races on the ballot this year.
And you'll probably see more advertisements and signs because of that. There's more money.
It's certainly an interesting district that has produced some future leaders.
And another open race in District 9 that has 7 candidates. Now, District 9 covers the far north side from north of Castle Hills up to Stone Oak. That includes some areas east of 281.
This has been regarded as one of the most conservative council districts in the past, and yet John Courage, who is a former who's run for office as a Democrat many times, has represented it for the last 8 years. And so you're sort of seeing, even though these are nonpartisan races, a fight over the future of this district on a partisan basis in some ways. It's drawn a lot of interesting candidates. There's a woman, Angie Taylor Aramburu, who has run for a state house seat before as a Democrat. Misty Spears, who works for the Republican commissioner on the commissioner's court. Grant Moody is running in this race. This one's going to be also a big spending race, and Courage has endorsed a candidate in there who has a campaign team that looks a lot like Courage's council office did.
And this District 9, if it does swing more conservative, would change a little bit of the balance because the other conservative district, District 10.
District 10 produces the most reliable, it most reliably produces a conservative candidate on the dais, and has currently the council's only conservative, Mark White, in that race. But 9 and 10, this is where most of the votes come from in the city. So that is why you see Courage, who had gotten out of the mayor's race, got back into the mayor's race, is still polling quite well in the only independent polling that we have of the mayor's race. That's why these races become so closely watched by everybody, including the mayoral candidates. You see a lot of activity here because this is the vote-rich part of the city.
And the rich part of the city as well.
Yes, we could have ended with rich.
Yes. District 10, by the way, has 4 challengers to the incumbent, Mark White. It stretches north toward the northeast side from Austin Highway through Starcrest. That includes Nacogdoches Road and Bulverde past 1604.
This is the seat that Clayton Perry vacated, and Mark White was the Northeast Neighborhood Alliance's candidate to take his spot. Then he also had a drinking and driving incident shortly into the job, was censured by his colleagues, but didn't wind up drawing as many challengers as some others this year. Didn't have quite the political impact that we might have expected. Mark White's now running for a second term, raised more money than most of the mayoral hopefuls earlier this year. Kind of incredible.
Again, the name recognition there comes into play as the incumbents, and there are not that many incumbents in the races.
And money, certainly, in this case.
Now, what about when the mayor endorses people, as he's done in some of these races? What do you think that means?
This is new for him. He hasn't weighed in on the council races in the past. Now that he is leaving the council, he has endorsed several candidates, including one in the open race, his former chief of staff. It's a big deal. It's a vote of confidence for the incumbents who are on there. And you could look at the results of the November election when voters agreed to longer council terms and higher pay and raising the city manager's pay and allowing the city manager to serve longer, as all people were feeling good about the direction of the city. And so Nuremberg's endorsement is, of course, something to watch for.
Yeah, Mayor Phil Hardberger, former mayor, when he pushed for pay for council members, that also had an impact back in the day.
Yeah, that certainly impacted who was able to run for these seats. The salary is changing this year from $47,000 to $70,000. So that, I think, has made life easier for some of the sitting council members. Councilman Mickey Rodriguez said he's going to have they're adopting a baby this year. So,
and some of them had second jobs, unlike the lawyers who were on council who didn't have problems with money. They said that some of the others needed a second job, and that was a pain.
Yeah, it's unclear whether this will become a full-time job for everyone on the council because of $70,000 a year, but it certainly perhaps opens it up to more people to run.
And the San Antonio Report has a very extensive voters guide this year where people can check out more on each of the candidates.
Yeah, gosh, we've only mentioned about a handful of candidates out of 59 on this show today, but you can read about every single one of them on our comprehensive voter guide. You can see a map of where these districts are. You can read about our past coverage, and you can also learn everything that you need to know about voting locations, poll times, registration deadlines, and how to participate in this election.
And all 86 of the candidates that are running either for mayor or those 10 council districts.
It's a labor of love.
Also on May 3rd, San Antonians are going to vote in a new mayor. It's a major decision. It could take our city in an entirely new direction from the past 8 years under Mayor Ron Nuremberg.
The candidate roster is pretty full with 27 candidates running for mayor this year. We want to go through these candidates, and we're going to do so based on a new poll out of UTSA's Center for Public Opinion Research. The poll surveyed 683 likely San Antonio voters, 35% who said they were undecided in this race, and 20% said they were unfamiliar with all of the candidates.
Now, in the lead in this poll, Gina Ortiz-Jones with just over 9%, then John Courage with close to 8%, Manny Pelaez with more than 5%. The support, though, ranging from 3% to just under 4%. That is Melissa Cabello Havrda, Beto Altamirano, Adriana Rocha Garcia, and Clayton Perry. And then from there, the percentage of support drops considerably to under 2%. Tim Wesley has a 1.6%. And then someone else, the phrase someone else, that is at 1%. That is also higher than Rolando Pablos, the former Texas Secretary of State, whose support was 0.8%. Arturo Espinoza had 0.9%, and Diana Flores Uriegas the same.
The rest of the candidates came in at 0.4% or lower. So let's take a look at the top 7 candidates based on the UTSA polling. First, Gina Ortiz-Jones. This is a familiar name. She ran for Congress twice in the 23rd Congressional District. She lost to Will Hurd in 2018. She ran again in 2020, lost to Tony Gonzalez. She served as the Undersecretary of the Air Force from 2021 to 2023 in the Biden administration. She's a graduate of the John Jay High School.
And candidate John Courage is a sitting city councilman. He represents District 9. He has since 2017. He started in politics in 1980 when he was elected to the Alamo Community College District Board of Trustees. Now, as a councilman, he is one of the most recognized efforts is the Weapons Exchange Program. He's been in San Antonio since 1971 when he came here for basic training at Lackland.
Another city council member running for mayor is District 8's Manny Pelaez, who's been on the council since 2017. He's an attorney who represented more than 175 homeowner associations in his practice. He served on numerous boards and commissions in the past, like Via Metropolitan Transit's Board, the North San Antonio Chamber, the Express News Advisory Board, and then the Board of Brooks City Base.
And Melissa Cabello Havrda was elected to City Council District 6 back in 2019. Her political career started when she worked in the office of former Mayor Ed Garza, and she also spent some time working with another former mayor, Lila Cockrell, when she was at the Parks Foundation. She is both an attorney and a realtor. Melissa graduated from Taft High School.
Next on the list is Beto Altamirano, a tech entrepreneur who's running in his first election this year. He has a master's in public administration from the Harvard Kennedy School and has worked in the realm of public policy in the Texas House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate, and also on the Alamo Area Metro Planning Organization.
And another council member, Adriana Rocha Garcia, is District 4, from District 4. She is also vying for the mayor's seat. A first-generation college graduate in her family, one of the first Hispanics to earn a PhD in advertising from the UT Moody College of Communications. Her career has included administrative positions in a number of different local organizations, including SAM Ministries, Project Quest, and the Southwest Independent School District.
This race has also brought a return for Clayton Perry, a former council member from District 10 who took a sabbatical from the dais after a drunk driving charge. He didn't seek re-election. His career was cut short by that experience. He's been in San Antonio since 1991, holds a degree in building construction from Texas A&M, spent 21 years in the Air Force, and served on the council for 6 years.
Now, the remaining candidates are Sonia Trout, Robert Melvin, Christopher Reyes, Jade McCullough, Brandon Gonzalez, Bill Ruppel, Armando Dominguez, Christopher Herring, and James Melvin, as well as Andrew Fernandez Vicencio, Gerardo del Cristo Zambrano, April Guadarrama, Michael Samaniego, Robert Salinas, and Mauricio Sanchez, as well as Santos Alvarado. And with all of those names, I don't want to use the phrase crapshoot, but who knows? It's just the top 2 that are going to go on. And with the polling the way it is, we really have no idea. I guess it depends on money and name recognition in terms of advertising between now and the election.
It's still early days. This poll showed 55% of people hadn't made a decision or weren't familiar with any of the candidates. But this UTSA polling is the only public nonpartisan polling that we have in this race to go off of so far, and showed that it's really still anyone's race. And some candidates would say this was taken before, this was conducted in mid-February, right after filing closed, so they could get the first look at it. They're going to release some more numbers closer to the election, but a lot of advertising and things had not started at that point.
But also UTSA's polling last fall showed most people didn't know who the candidates were. Some of them didn't know who any of the candidates were.
Heavy emphasis on name ID. Gina Ortiz-Jones has run for Congress twice. Those were humongously expensive races. These were these races in Texas 23, which was one of the hottest races on the entire House map. So people have, remember her ads from those races. And then John Courage, who has also run a lot and who's from one of the most vote-rich council districts.
And we talked about those vote-rich council districts. Those council districts may support their own former, say, Clayton Perry in 10, Manny Pelaz in 8, John Courage. That's where the money is. So we expect to see more ads from those candidates in those districts.
But big picture, San Antonio hasn't elected a mayor from outside of the council in quite some time. And you had 4 candidates this year from the city council. And then these 3 candidates who are not on the city council, Gina Ortiz-Jones, Rolando Pablos, Beto Altamirano, came in and sucked all of the oxygen out of the room with the fundraising, put a lot of personal resources in there, just blew the fundraising numbers out of the water. And we're going to get another look at that again at the beginning of next month.
But some of these candidates, I mean, they're also going to split the vote for their kind of candidate. I mean, those north side districts could split the vote and lose to somebody else from outside.
Sure, you see a lot of that happening right now. People sort of attacking the person who is most like them in this race. You had Clayton Perry saying that Rolando Pablos should get out of the race after his performance in that UTSA poll, and Pablos saying, absolutely not. I'm the only one raising money from the conservative wing.
And I've heard from a lot of people who said, we tried to get this person to get out of the race. We tried to get that just because 27 candidates. Do you have any idea who's going to be those top 2?
Well, it is too late to get anybody to get out. The ballot is set. There's no sample ballot is available online. And so, the time to consolidate support was a month ago.
And the ballot order, by the way, how they're listed is determined by lottery. And so there's no incumbent advantage to be at the top.
Very little to help you make your decision once you walk in there. You need to know who you are intend to choose, because they are appearing in random order that they drew for last month. And there will be no party affiliation. These are nonpartisan races, nor will you even be able to see who the incumbent is in these council races.
Now, some other things will also be on the ballot, from school board races to a big bond issue for the Alamo Colleges district.
That's $1 billion bond that they're asking for this year. Also, voters in East Central ISD will have a bond on their ballot. They had one fail, and they're coming back to ask for it again. And also, Floresville ISD will have a bond on the ballot. We also have a bunch of school board races and other municipalities in Bexar County that are hosting races. In this May 3rd election, there'll be school board races in Northside, Alamo Heights, Judson ISD, San Antonio ISD, Southwest ISD, Medina Valley, Comal, and municipal elections in Balcones Heights, Fair Oaks Ranch, Hollywood Park, Hill Country Village, Kirby, Leon Valley, Live Oak, Olmus Park, and Universal City. There would have been one in Alamo Heights, but they didn't have anybody. They had a 1-person race in their open mayor's race.
So you may want to do some more research because of all the candidates and different issues on the ballot. And there's a place to get information about that, more research.
We have done a lot of legwork over at the San Antonio Report. Our small but mighty team has put together this really comprehensive voter guide with every candidate and every race on the May 3rd ballot.
You sound tired from that.
I'm tired.
But you're not done.
Not done.
All right. Well, thanks, Andrea. Thank you for joining us for this look at the May 3rd election.
You can find complete information about the San Antonio Report's voter guide at sareport.org or on the Bexar County Elections website at bear.org. I'm Andrea Drusch from the San Antonio Report.
And I'm Randy Beamer, and we'll see you soon.
May 3rd is Election Day, and KLRN reminds you, every vote counts. That means
Your vote.
Your vote.
your vote matters.
Early voting starts April 22nd and runs through April 29th. Bexar County has dozens of locations where you can vote early, and you can vote at any site.
Want to view a sample ballot before you head to the polls? You can find your ballot online at the Bexar County Elections Department website.
If you need curbside voting, just call ahead to the elections office so the early voting clerk at your voting location can be notified. They will come out to you when you arrive.
What do you need to bring when you vote? Any one of 7 accepted forms of ID, such as your driver's license, military ID, or passport.
Don't forget, phones aren't allowed in the voting booth.
And leave any clothing with political messages at home.
Need a mail-in ballot? The Elections Department needs to receive your request for the ballot by April 22nd.
Sometimes an election can be decided by just a few votes.
Your vote matters.
Your vote counts.